What's up, guys? Episode 6, Road to All-American. Let me shoot the invite over to Bailey. It's not coming up. Huh. This is not kosher. Having technical difficulties. What's up, Brian? There we go. Just waiting for Billy to get in here. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Cool. What's up?
What's going on? Just got to pay some bills real quick. I can't believe I'm on episode 6 already. This season is going by pretty quick. But it's being brought to you by ROKFORM. Make sure you guys check them out, ROKFORM.com. Use code DMiller25 to get 25% off your order. If you guys are running a bass boat, kayak, anything on the water, you guys got to check out the twist lock mount. It's phenomenal. I'm doing, 74, 75 on big water, and I don't have to worry about my phone coming loose. It's in place, bolted to the boat. You don't have nothing to worry about. So, guys, make sure you check them out, rockform.com. Twist lock mount. Use it with a ram mount. You're good to go. Bailey, what's up, brother? So, how's everything?
Dude, I'm good. I'm done working for the day. Well, I should say done working, the full-time gig, and now we're on the second full-time gig, and we're doing some podcasts tonight. So we're cramming it in, man, and I'm excited to kick back here and talk fishing with you.
Yeah, brother. So, for the people watching, how I kind of met Bailey, because I've been a fan of the Serious Angler podcast, so I've been following it, and I've been watching. You guys are doing a great job with that. But he had reposted something from another person talking about how the PGA Tour and some other golf tour joined forces for like some type of golf tour, and mentioned Bass and MLF doing the same thing, or like, can we all get along type of scenario. And I was like, oh heck no. That would be like a nail in the coffin to like everything I'm aspiring to do. But what are your thoughts on something like that, with like some type of merger, for even if it's like a tour? Because I think for the grassroots, if something was to be done like that for the grassroots angler, it'd be like a catastrophic. I just don't see it like something like that working. But to see like a BPT / elite event, I can see that working out for like the bigger picture of the sport. But to do something at a lower level, I'm not with it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's different days where I go back and forth on this one, where some days I think, one trail is better off. There's some days though, and I always think of this, that I'm glad there are multiple trails, because what that does is provide different folks with the opportunity to go full-time fishing, chasing their passion, and I'm all for that. I'll never in my entire life stand against that. But there's days where I wear the consumer or businessman hat, where you would say, if there's only one trail, that's where all the eyes would lead, therefore would leave more money. I think from an overall professional fishing standpoint, the anglers on one trail, if there was one trail, would benefit the most versus all spread out, where it means money is spread out, and therefore it's harder for each trail and anglers to get ahead. So there's different ways of looking at it, and like I said, I go back and forth on it all the time. But I guess if I had to choose one, I kind of like where fishing's at right now. I like. I'll say I like where it's at in regards to we have the elites, you have the BPT, you have grassroots of both. NPFL is almost kind of providing like a stepping stone to get to the two. It's kind of where they position themselves as almost like a funnel to get guys ready to go after the opens or something like that, or the invitationals. I'd say the only thing I would change about it is the trails actually work together, which is they do not whatsoever.
No, I agree 100%. Even if you stay within the same realm one way or the other, because like the MLF way for the grassroots, BFL, then Toyota, and then you got the invitationals. But then the Bass is like you have to do the local level with the Bass Nation, and that was like, I don't know how to go into it through the podcast, but like when I was on the executive board with Connecticut Bass Nation, great group of guys, but there was like stuff trickling down from Mother Bass over the years. I mean, I'm talking going back, 8-10 years ago, leading up to now, like things that you've seen change. A lot of this stuff has been in the works for a long time. And I think Bass at one point in time, I don't know if they still think, like maybe some people there might think it's the way to go, but they were really pushing the collegiate level, the collegiate aspect very hard.
Right.
And it doesn't work nationwide. Like if you have high schools like in Alabama or something, you have a lot of high school teams and youth teams to like work your way up to go to the college level, fish on the college tour, and then work your way into the elites. But there's no like drafting process, so that kills that.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to go fish the opens or do whatever to try to qualify to the next stage. And then the states aren't even. Like there would have to be like an even number per state with the way the nation is set up. And that's again why I am currently now fishing the BFLs, because you have my goal is All-American, hashtag Road All-American, the podcast, the whole deal. So I have different goals. And it like the MLF provides like an aspect where you can travel, do a tour, and not have to work your way up like super local, and you kind of like skip a step.
Right. Yeah,
and I like that.
There's a few things. I mean, I think it's obviously there's a lot of differing opinions right now for sure, but I think in the grand scheme of things, when you keep adding leagues and different trails, the business side of me looks at that as we're trying to spread out the money, when the fishing industry, we all might look at it growing up as this big thing, but the grand scheme, the fishing industry is not as big as we like to believe it is. Yeah. And when you spread that money out, that's everybody basically fighting for scraps, because then you have the leagues that are looking for that to be able to put on a production and to get better. And then from there, you got anglers trying to compete in that, and they're trying to get money to do it full time. Whereas if you try to spread it out too much, you're hurting everybody. Whereas, like I said earlier, I think we're at a good level now. I think if you could have one trail, you think you could see some really big money getting put back into competitive bass fishing. And I still think you can do it now. I just think the process needs to be refined, where the trails got to work together on schedule. Two, I think they're missing out big time, where if they could work out on the schedule and they made, like you kind of hinted at earlier, like the top 10 or top 20 from each trail has like a world, quote unquote, world championship at the end of each season, like top 20 AOI. I think you'd have a big event in regards to eyes. But also I feel like that would allow the trails to work better in regards to scheduling, and it'll allow to better work with sponsors, because right now they're fighting over what brands can attend their main events, their expos, or things of that nature, where when you do that, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, where you're making people choose.
Yeah.
And especially I just think right now if you're Bass, you're the one in that situation, you feel a lot better because you have the name for so long. But we're Major League Fishing. I guess I can understand it to an extent, but I just think there's no point in the two trails competing. But I don't know. Like I said, you can probably already tell. That's why I go back and forth on this all the time.
Yeah.
But as long as we got people that are able to still do this for a living, and more of them are able to do it, that means more people are spreading the word on fishing and that sort of thing, putting money back down to it because it's a trickle down effect. But I just think right now with the process we have, it's good, but it just needs to be heavily refined.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Even with I know some guys were sour when the MLF FLW merger took place. Guys were sour. Certain people qualified for a specific event, and the event doesn't exist anymore,
Yeah.
or they qualified for a tour that's no longer the premium tour anymore. I can understand how, but it was like a step back. Like I heard a saying where it's like you take a step back to make two steps forward. So after the smoke clears, it looks a lot better than what it was on shaky ground for a minute. But then with bass, this thing, I know people might take some shots at me. I know, but the opens having the fish all nine, that's hurts people. A lot of people that wanted to fish the opens, and I get two sides of the story because some people are like, hey, well, if you weren't going to fish all nine, then you weren't going to fish them at all. Me, I was waitlisted 4 years in a row for the Northern Opens. So what's going on? I signed up, and then, I was in a position where I'm talking to somebody at Bass. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to say their name, but hey, what's going on? The first event is down on Okeechobee. Oh, well, you got 18 people ahead of you. I'm like, so then I'm backing out. Well, no, if you could go down there and practice and get ready, and then in case most of the time people drop out, I'm in Connecticut. I'm not driving down to Okeechobee, practicing for a week, prepping for a tournament to sit there and wait and hope that X amount of people backed out. That's insanity. You can't do that. And then to have, 4 years in a row have that happen, and then you have people and a lot of people are like, well, if you don't have the sponsors and X, Y, and Z backing you to fish all nine, then how are you going to make out on the elites? It's a hell of a lot easier to get major sponsorship than when you have elite next to your name than if you don't have any title next to your name of what you're fishing. If you're just somebody up and coming and you're not fishing, you're not associated with anything, hey, I'm going to fish the opens, that's a big penny that you got to cough up.
Yeah, and I'd even argue that and some folks may not like this, but just because you have elite next to your name nowadays, I don't think it means half of what it used to before. I think from a respect and a legitimacy level from angler to angler, I still think it means exactly what it meant, say 15 years ago. But to a business and a brand that you want to get money from, I don't think it's half of what it's worth anymore. They're like, okay, cool, you're on the elites. What about your social media? That's the biggest thing they're asking nowadays is what ROI am I actually going to get out of you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the talk nowadays.
Yeah, and you can't even, a lot of the I don't know, that's a whole nother conversation about marketing, what people in marketing departments at companies are looking at and what they care about, because it's all textbook to them. And and we had me and a buddy of mine, he's in the NASCAR realm, so but it's kind of similar to bass fishing. You wrap a race car, you wrap a boat, it's similar. There's advertising and marketing dollars being thrown around a lot.
Right.
So we were talking about it. He's like, yeah, but have you ever been at where do you stay at when you go away for tournaments? I'm like, I bounce around different hotels, Airbnbs, XYZ. And I was telling him about a story where I had there was some mom and she had a couple kids, and the kids wanted to get on the boat. So put them up on the boat, they're checking out, walking around, this is awesome. Mom takes a picture. So let's just theoretically say that activation right there, that picture that she takes in the wrap, whatever it says, my case Phoenix, if she goes home and puts it up on the fridge and it's on her fridge for the next 10 years. Every single person that comes in the house is going to see that picture and see the kids happy. And you have like the ultimate activation right there. And like brands just don't see a lot of this type of stuff. They're looking at how many followers you got, what's your engagement rate, that type of stuff. But they're not taking the person to person association of, hey, this brand, this guy who represents this brand. You know, if it was Samsung, they're going to go out and buy a Samsung refrigerator next time they need a refrigerator, you know, like, because it's been on their refrigerator for so many years. So yeah. It's the memories and the people to person. I know I've seen a lot of situations where there's like kids, they go nuts when they see the boats all parked at the hotel or whatever. They love it. And those are memories like you just can't get back. Like, oh, you know, and even the brand association, your favorite race car driver, he supports or Wonder Bread supports Wonder Bread supports him. People that are fans of him are going to want to support the brand that supports the sport they love, whether it's golf, tennis, racing, in our case, fishing. So there's a lot more angles to look at things than just analytics all day.
Yeah. And while I will say that still, you know, reigning number one in Supreme is, when it comes to a brand that's trying to support an angler is, and I think the way that anglers should look at it too when you're trying to get sponsors is relationships are number one. Always has been, always will be, but now more than ever, to play devil's advocate to what you just said, is you could see that when you look at a brand's ROI, they're gonna want to know what they're getting out of when they pay you money. They're gonna want to know that you're gonna be able to move the needle, because there's not too many brands that just pay guys because they want to have their name associated with the staff anymore. That's an ever-changing thing, and here's how a majority of brands are going to come at that point. They're going to say, yeah, it's really nice that you're doing that. It's great. We love that you're making an impact on, you know, the people that are around you, that sort of thing. But they're going to say, but when you do that, say you maybe reach a few hundred people during your season, whereas I could just go sign this guy or this girl and this influencer or this content creator, or maybe it's another pro, and they're like, she makes one post and they reach 20,000 people.
Yeah.
They're going to look at that as, I'm getting in front of way more people here. You might not have the, you know, the person-to-person impact that what you just described, but a brand's going to see that nowadays, and they're going to be like, well, he is moving the needle more.
Yeah.
Which it sucks, but unfortunately it's the modern age, and that's what that is. But the best brands to work for are the ones that see the hybrid.
Yeah, that see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
My man Casey just commented, there's only so much money on the endemic side, and most of it goes to the club of guys that are in the group. The non-endemics are where the money is for everyone else. It's a hustle. It's a tough hustle, but necessary. Yep. He's absolutely right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, though, majority of those non-endemics, they last a year or two.
Yeah.
They're never long term. I think there's like maybe 0.01% of guys that have held a non-endemic for longer than a few seasons. Like, I'm trying to think who might be a few examples. Like the Lee Levis, he's got Whiskey Myers. Granted, you could argue that could be somewhat endemic too, but
Black Rifle Coffee is all over the place now.
True, but I feel like they're so embedded in the outdoor space now. I feel like that's almost like an endemic to an extent nowadays.
they have I think they have
they have like outdoor pages and everything. They're basically a media outlet in the outdoor space now.
Yeah, I think they have like oh my god, I'm drawing a blank.
They got a few people.
Contingency money.
Yeah.
I think there's like contingency winning. If you're representing Black Rifle Coffee, you get contingency.
I'd say like a good example of a non-endemic right now in bass fishing space is like Geico.
Oh, yeah.
Geico, I think it's Progressive that's more in the space. I think
Geico used to be.
Right.
They were heavy with the Classic and whatnot.
Now it's like Progressive. You see like a few guys that are running like Monster, things like that. Like you got Fletcher Shryack running like Full Throttle. those are pretty good examples of non-endemics. I can't think of somebody that's like had a big non-endemic for long, but sorry, tangents. I'm getting old habits with my podcast here. We not tangents.
Chad Pipkins has been repping the salon forever, and he never wears a hat. He's showing off his haircut from the salon.
There you go. There you go. Nailed
Chad
it.
Pipkins.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, so we touched on a little marketing. We touched on a potential Bass MLF merger and our thoughts. What else we got? We got tell me what's new about the Serious Angler podcast. What you guys got coming up?
Really, I mean, we just got out of, Q2 is a pretty hard stretch for us because one, it's heavy season for Andy for guiding and heavy season for me work-wise because I'm on media trips and doing iCast and, that's when a lot of the, our company's brands that we represent, that's when their products are launched. So I'm busy as heck. So thankfully Q3's here now, summer's here. We're getting into the fall here in a little bit that we're back on the, the steady show grind. So we have some really cool guests coming up. But I'll say, the biggest thing on the hopper for us that I'm working pretty steady on behind the scenes is we got a new show on the podcast network coming in October. So we'll have, right now we have 3. We have obviously Serious Angler, Business from the Bass Boat, Lure Lab. We'll have a new show coming October 1st. That'll be added to the network, and a new co-host, new team member for the Serious Angler Podcast Network coming. So we're burning the midnight oil behind the scenes, trying to get everything ready so that we could do it right. Because we've learned a lot in the years that, granted, it's only been like 3 for Serious Angler that's been around. Actually, I think this August will be 4. But yeah, either way, it's pretty wild, man. So we're working pretty hard behind the scenes and trying to get apparel, and we have a whole kind of lifestyle brand that we're trying to build behind the scenes. Serious Angler, we have like some brownfin tuna shirts and stuff like that. We're gonna have some goofy stuff. We call it Serious Angler, so we want to have some not so serious stuff. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. What about you?
What made you want to start the podcast? Like,
so that was
saturated.
Yeah. So when I got into it 4 years ago, it was not what it was now, where there's a bunch of podcasts out. Back then, I was a big Joe Rogan guy back in 2019, and I had just graduated I graduated college. To complete my master's degree in sport management, I had to do a 6-month internship, and I landed a pretty sweet gig. I went to work as an event manager for the University of Notre Dame's athletic department. So originally it was just their football team and basketball team that I was supposed to work for, but then they brought me on every single fall and winter sport team. So my schedule basically went to 90 hours a week as an intern, not making any money. So I basically any glimpse of me trying to fish at all, because I had to work weekends too, was out the window. And I've always been, competitive or not, I always just want to keep learning as much as I possibly can. That's my biggest hunger. I could stop fishing tournaments today and I would be totally content with it. My biggest thing is I want to keep learning. So I was sitting there, I was such a big podcast nut as it was. I was listening to some business podcasts. I was a huge Joe Rogan nut, still am. And one of my buddies was like, dude, just start a podcast. I never really thought about it. I never thought if I actually do that. And so I'm like, screw it, why not? And so it was like an excuse for me to get people on that I always looked up to and admired to get on and selfishly just learn from them. Try to pry some knowledge and stuff to advance myself somewhat, at least, up in the noggin when it comes to fishing. And so started that, and it just kind of spiraled into something I was really passionate about and took it way more serious. And in regards to trying to build it into a legitimate media outlet. And at that time, there was Bass Talk Live, of course, and I've been fortunate enough to become pretty good friends with Matt Pangrac over there, they're the king right now of fishing podcasts. And that time too, really good buddy of mine, Andrew Hayes, started his show, Tackle Talk Podcast. That's one of the monsters now. But beyond that, back then there really wasn't that many shows. and now it's exploded. It's boomed. People are starting shows everywhere, which is a good thing. The more the merrier, because podcasting is probably arguably the biggest form of growing media out there. So it's the more we can do that, the more we'll grow the sport for sure.
Yeah. I didn't think I would be doing this, but it's something cool. I wanted to dabble in this realm and do it live. Came up with a whole concept with it, and I'm doing it. There's 4 tires to the road and going. And I think too, like another angle for me to want to do this was kind of like, because I have like anglers on, I have brands on, you're another podcast, but to boost camaraderie amongst the anglers too, because the other guests I have lined up, that was something I felt has been like missing, because like fishing the club level for a long time, and being buddies, would go out to dinner together and stuff, and I've made a lot of great friends through fishing tournaments, the BFLs and the Toyotas and whatnot, and it's something you don't really see. It's kind of like become like kind of like a cutthroat sport where everybody's in it for themselves, but there's a lot of guys out there that like to be like not crew, but be friends, and it's I think
that is such a outdated and traditional mindset that I think if we've learned anything from like what the I'm gonna put it out there, like what the Guggen squad started, was that collaborations are one of the fastest ways to grow, and it still reigns true today, where you will grow faster if you collaborate amongst people. And that's why, from podcasting to YouTube to content in general, like look at what Wheeler, Avina, Mark Daniels Jr., Connell, look at what those guys are doing. The reason that all their brands are growing as fast as they are, one, because they're winning every freaking thing, but two, I mean, dude, they're all in each other's videos. Yeah. They're all in pumping each other's brands. Sponsors are seeing that, like, they're like, Adrian Avina's in Connell and Wheeler's videos all the time. That's getting brand recognition for them in somebody else's content that they don't have to pay for. And then they're going and start their own channel. It's just an immediate way to grow and grow fast is collaboration. And I think that is such a big thing nowadays, like what we're doing right now, collaboration. Yeah. That's how things grow.
Yeah, man.
So people that are like try to do it on their own and things of that nature, like, you're behind the times.
Yeah.
To put it bluntly.
Yeah, I think another thing too is like #Road to All American is one thing that kind of ticked me off at the championship, the regional last year. I broke down. I had to fish in the boat. This was day 2. I had to fish in the boat to make it to day 3. I didn't know. I only had 4 fish, but I'm on my way back to the weigh-in. It was on the James River. I ran from Henrico down to the Chick, halfway point, motor stalls. Tried to get it to start up again. Handful, I don't remember the exact number, a handful of boats. I'm trying to flag them down. I bagged my fish up already, ready to go. Send my co on his way. There's a state park right there I could go beach at. Nobody stopped. I don't know who they were. I don't know if they were in the tournament. I don't know if they were running late, what the deal was. I was like second flight. But stuff like that, I would have stopped. You don't know, somebody been having a medical emergency or something, and you just fly right by, and it's like, I don't know. I'm not cool with that. It's kind of like it is what it is kind of scenario. It kind of ate at me all winter long waiting for the next season to start. But another point with this podcast is get people to like communicate, not just be, every man for themselves type of thing, and that really hurt. That stung.
Yeah, I mean, but you can only educate if you talk about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
you can't educate with silence.
Yeah, you got to get people to work together and stuff like this, especially this sport. There's so many moving parts with what we do day in and day out. Boat malfunctions, electrical issues, bad weather, you get hit something, there's so many obstacles that and potential hazards or could be's you know, and we got to look out for each other, you know. And I think, you know, I've towed people in before. I've been towed in before, but I didn't even need somebody to tow me in. It was like, here, take my fish and my co-angler and be on your way.
Yeah. Well, and dude, that is like one of the biggest things that I think is I see it getting better, because I think anglers are realizing that we're all in this together. And the biggest thing about the fishing industry is that it's who you know. That's one of the biggest. I mean, we just talked about it. Relationships is still reigns supreme when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
And you never know what if you burn a bridge or you try to do it all on your own. You can do it all on your own, but it's going to be way a heck of a lot harder if you don't have a circle that you're a part of, or you don't make connections, you don't network. Where it's you know, you never know if you're a jerk to one guy and for whatever reason a sponsor is sponsoring him, say, and they are interested in you, but you were a jerk to that one time and they asked his opinion of you, and that's what he says. I mean, these are the kind of things. It's crazy we have to think about it that way in this world. But if you're just a good human being, you're going to last in the fishing industry. If you're a good human being and you can work your tail off, you're going to make it in the fishing industry. You will. But, like, I mean, dude, look at Patrick Walters, what he just did for Trent Palmer on NPFL. He basically knew he wasn't going to beat Trent. Like, I don't know if actually they knew, but they knew it was going to be close. But basically sacrificed his last 30 minutes of fishing time to bring Trent back in because Trent's motor broke down. Granted, they were buddies, they're roommates, but still, he sacrificed the opportunity to solidify $100,000 to take a guy who's probably going to beat him back in to make sure he hits his fish in. That is sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Another great example of that, I mean, there's a bunch of them I could rattle off. One of my favorites, and personally just because I love Gussie, is I was at the Classic, I was in the media room, and I'm just kind of like a fly on the wall because Gussie, he's an X2 guy. He's a Humbird Minn Kota guy, and with the Humbird, Johnson Outdoors and X2 Power is one of the clients for the company I work for Gunpowder. And so I'm just kind of like being a liaison, if you will, with him in media and just making sure like people aren't too up his butt when he's trying to go win a Bassmaster Classic. And it was super cool that on the last day, I was in that room. No, it wasn't last day. It was second to last. It was just after day 2. David Mullins in the room and a bunch of media trying to take videos of Gussie, and like Mullins is walking out and like says good luck to him, and he goes, well, I have to give a shout out to David Mullins. He goes, he had a rough go at the Classic, but the dude literally waited, and I believe he came in late. Mullins came in late because he waited for Gussie to pass him because he knew Gussie had a slower boat and followed him all the way back to launch to make sure he got in okay. That way, if for whatever reason something happened, he had a boat right behind him that could take his fish in. That is like supreme sportsmanship.
I never heard this story.
Because, yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the podcast a little bit because I try to rain some light on that because, I don't know, in a room full of media, I feel like that screams a cool story. But I guess nobody really wanted to talk about it, and I thought Mullins deserved credit and a half for that. I mean, that's just stand-up. Like, you zero in the Classic. Granted, yeah, it's a Classic, you're making $10,000, but still, at the end of the day, like, it's kind of a bummer to get on the big stage and not have a fish to weigh in, but you still have the wherewithal and, you know, the respect and just being a man and a friend, or even just like a true competitor, that you see that and you're like, I can't take anything out of this tournament. I'm going to make sure the guy that could change his entire life gets in and without, like, you know, boat troubles. Like, something as silly as that. That spoke volumes to me. I will forever be a David Mullins fan because of that. I thought that was just super cool, which we need more of. We need to talk about these things, but that's how competitors should be. Like, yeah, we're competing against each other. We're fishing technically against each other, but in the grand scheme of things, we're fishing against the fish. And if we're all in it together, we're all going to help each other. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to the thing. If you are a good human being and you know how to work hard, you'll be fine in the fishing industry.
That's why I don't like saying we fish against each other. I like to say we fish against Mother Nature. We fish against the fish. You know, and it's like whoever can. That's the mentality we got to get rid of. Is where we're competing against each other. We are competing, but it's like a friendly fire competing. Not, you know, it's even like with guys like who've gotten caught cheating and stuff. Regardless, like stuff like that. It's like so uncalled for. Everybody looks down on that 100%, and
Yeah.
and I'm happy too that we police our own too, like for a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately that's one that and I don't want to get too into that, but I mean, in fishing it's always going to be a problem, right? I mean, you look at NBA, NHL, NFL, anything that's potentially cheating is done behind closed doors, where you can't do it on the court or on the rink or the football field because you got the world's eyes there. You can go fish tournament without a marshal, or even sometimes maybe who knows if you do have a marshal, but all the eyes aren't on you.
Yeah.
You know, you can get away with some stuff. I think that's the one unique part about fishing. And I come from the kayak side of things. There's a lot of honor code right there. There's a lot of trust in that you're doing the right things and you're having some integrity.
Yeah. Integrity is
unfortunately, when there's money and very big money, people go crazy.
I wish the money was as big as it was back in the 90s, early 2000s. So.
Yeah, I think everybody does. We'd all be living lavish right now.
Yeah. Jeez. Coming like 50th place, get 25 grand or something.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. It was there.
Yeah. $1 million payouts or $500,000 payouts. That was good old days.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Yeah, the price of boats costs more than like first place now.
Pretty much, man. And you might be able to win a classic and actually afford your boat.
Oh man.
Heck yeah.
Well, what was your next? You got any tournaments lined up, or you doing anything?
Yeah, so I got for the rest of the year, basically, it's all local stuff. My local deal here in New York kayak bass fishing. We have a pretty competitive trail for our state. We got, anywhere from 50 to 80 anglers an event, and every year it becomes more and more competitive, which I love to see. And I'm leading angler of the year for that, and I won it last year, so I'm taking it pretty damn serious in regards to trying to defend the title, just because I'm just prideful, I guess, if you will, stubbornly prideful, if I guess you could call it. But I got a few events for that. We're up at the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, in a couple weeks. I think like a week or two before the elites are there. So I'll have that one next, and then really don't have much until September. But it's going to be a lot of just fun fishing, creating content for the YouTube channel, and going fishing, having fun, always learning, that sort of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
And I'm on my way to Champlain for BFL number
Jealous.
3. Yeah, this is weird this year, this schedule. I got 3 tournaments back-to-back on Champlain. I'm not complaining. I love Champlain, but it's kind of odd.
If you live on Champlain, it's a great BFL season for you.
I'm going to hold my breath because the flooding, I've seen videos circulating in Vermont. I hope everybody in Vermont is safe. Everybody's good up in Vermont, but there was like terrible flooding. And so I'm hoping the water clarity is good. You said you're going to St. Lawrence or the Lake Ontario for a kayak tournament? Where are you guys launching out of?
So we can launch anywhere that's public. So it's weird though. So there's technically 2 tournaments. I'm going to double dip, or I'm going to try to double dip anyways. Is our local trail. We can go all the way to Henderson in the lake. Like we can go out to the islands if we want to. That's the border, and that's all the way up towards I want to say almost Ogdensburg, which I thought was stupid. It's a regional trail, elite kayak fishing. Don't quote me I don't know if that is Ogdensburg or not. Actually, I want to say it's the stretch before Ogdensburg, right where it narrows down to Ogdensburg, past the American Narrows. But either way, that current's so crazy in there. I don't know why we'd allow for kayaks to go in there, motors or not. But within that whole stretch, anywhere that's public, we're allowed to launch.
Well, like I could see like Henderson or something like that.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
I mean, Clayton's fine too. There's current in Clayton, but like you can manage that in a kayak just fine. I mean, it's with a west wind, it's maybe 2 tops out of Clayton, which is fine. Like we can easily manage that, especially if you got a motor. Even with pedals, it might suck if you drift down river a good ways and have to go back up. But for the most part, like a decent amount of these guys got motors so they can run back. Kentucky Fishing asked if I was just on Past the Barb. Yes. Last night, literally, Bartuszek texted me at midnight to jump on the show. So, yes, I did a podcast last night at midnight. Spur of the moment, I was sitting there video editing and get a text like, hey, can you jump on our show? I was like, sure, when? Now. I'm like, oh, all right, sure. Yeah, why not?
I gave you we talked about this for a couple weeks now. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, much better lead time.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up. You got any sponsors you want to shout out or anything?
Man, you know, I got a pretty good team supporting me, supporting the show. And I don't want to do your typical spiel running through every, you know, brand, that sort of thing, because I don't believe it does it justice. So I just want to say, you know, thank you for inviting me on here. This has been a heck of a time. Hope we can do it again. It was good, you know, talking, conversation around fishing, where we think things are going. It was a great time. I say, man, the only thing, come check out Serious Angler Podcast for all you folk that may not have heard of us. Come check out the podcast, some of the content we got, and would be glad to showcase all the different brands that support us over there.
Awesome. Well said. Yeah, man. Thanks for letting me have you on. I'm definitely not as polished as you are at this. I'm a fisherman that just wants to try something different. So, but definitely thanks again, Bailey, for coming on. And anybody who watched this, I liked it, hit the like button, give me a follow. And this Saturday, I'll have Great Buck on, MLF dude, buddy of mine. We see him every once in a while. Like, we end up fishing. I've been fishing against him for a couple of years now, so it's been fun. But yeah, Great Buck will be on a Saturday, and see you guys there. But thanks again, Bailey.
Yes, sir. It was a lot of fun. You have to. Hey, you said you like Oneida, and that's Great Buck's a great guy to talk about Oneida with you.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Oneida.
I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I don't know if now he's where are they right now? Extending the podcast.
He's Mississippi River, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, him and I had Lane Olson on a couple weeks ago. He's up there too. Yeah, so shout out Lane, Great Buck. Good luck both you guys up there on the Mississippi. Hope you guys both catch them up.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, Bailey, I'll be in touch, man. Thanks again for coming on.
All right, boss. Take care.
All right, brother. Later.